Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and in this video I want to continue the discussion from last week where we talked about three types of lighting consoles and we compared some of the pros and cons between them, and now talk about one way to look at choosing the lighting console that's right for you. Now that way, just to spill the beans, is to look at complexity versus ease of learning. And so before you get to this point, if you're choosing a lighting console, and I actually have a full article on how to choose your first lighting console, you can check it out below or right here. But the first thing you got to do before you get to this point is weed out consoles that literally don't meet your needs from a technical perspective. And so if you're using multiple DMX universes, maybe there's a certain number of channels that you need to use, or a certain number of lights you need to control. Like I think of one new console I saw that just hit the market that has a cap on the number of fixtures you can use, and it's not that many. It was like 20 or 30 for two DMX universes. And you'd run out of fixtures in a lot of cases before you run out of channels. That's no good. And so once you weed out the pure technical, can this thing actually control everything I need it to, or I will in the future, we then need to look at complexity versus ease of learning. Because one thing that I've learned in teaching people over the past 6 or 7 years on LearnStageLighting.com, I lose track of it, how long it's been. But one thing I've learned is that pretty much anybody can learn a professional grade lighting console, okay? Even if they have no lighting experience. Like I think of students I've had that go from literally an Obey 40 or an Obey 70 or something like that, and they dive into Onyx, and there's a learning curve to it. It takes more time to learn, but at the end of the day, there's a complexity level that those students wanted, and there's a price level that they wanted, that it just made sense to go with something like Onyx. Really amazing price, especially with the free version or just an NX Touch, but the difference is going to be that learning curve. And so what you've got to ask yourself, and this is where we move out of the purely technical, is we look at, okay, how complicated is this thing to learn, and also balance how much complexity do I want in my lighting show? How much complexity in programming do I need? Because ultimately, the audience of your show, whether that be a band show where there's an audience, a crowd, whether that's a church where there's a congregation, whether it's a theater show with an audience or a DJ setup, no matter what it is, you've got to think about the audience and their perspective, okay? How much are they going to notice whether you use some programming trick or not? I know I just said that, but the truth is, if you talk to professional lighting designers who've been doing this for a living, as myself or others who light much larger stages, then they can tell you again and again and again, if they've been doing it for a while, that, the audience doesn't care if your console has an update function. The audience doesn't care if your console can clone. The audience doesn't care about the effects generator your console has. What the audience cares about is the output, the actual light show, what the lights actually look like. And so one story and one thing that I see time and time again in lighting is that you can take an experienced lighting designer on a terrible little console like these things. I hate these things. All the major brands make them and I don't like them. And they can make a really great show. Or you can take somebody who maybe doesn't care or has little experience, get them up to speed on a professional grade console, and then, in no time, they'll be programming away, but they might not make something more interesting than the professional designer on the simple console. Why do I say this? I say this all to say that you really have to look at and demo software and watch tutorial videos to get an idea of, okay, what complexity level am I looking for in my programming and playback? And when you look at the complexity level that you want in that playback, in that programming, I want you to think most about the output to the stage, about what it actually looks like to the audience and compared to what they're used to seeing. Maybe you're looking at, where you've previously been at your church or where other churches in the area are doing, or comparing, if you're in music, to what other bands of the same level in your area are doing. Okay? And you might find that you don't need that professional level console. Or maybe you find when you look at this that, okay, I do need that professional level of complexity. I do walk into a new venue every day, and so I need cloning. I do want this, I do want that. And that's fine. Because sometimes I feel like in a video like this that I'm talking everybody out of using a professional grade console like Onyx, and nothing could be further from the truth. Because that brings in the second point of this video, which is learning curve. Okay? I truly believe that anybody, even starting from basics, can learn a professional grade lighting console like Onyx and make cool stuff with it. I've seen that happen time and time again with students of mine inside of Learn Stage Lighting Labs. Okay? But if you're starting from nowhere, or you're starting from a very basic console, or no lighting background at all, it's going to take a while to get up to speed with Onyx. It is. Now, the benefit is, once you know the software and you become proficient in programming it, you learn it and then get some programming time under your belt, then you can work faster and more efficiently in Onyx than any console below it. That's one of the big benefits of a professional grade console, is that once you get comfortable with it, generally, if you've got a good set of hardware in front of you, or with Onyx, you just need a good touchscreen and customize your layouts, you can program much faster than you'd be able to on a simple console or an intermediate level. And so to kind of wrap this up here, choosing the right console, yeah, it can be complicated, and it's something that I don't think you should take lightly. Like, I think about recently, I had somebody come through the labs who tried out 4 or 5 different consoles before they landed in the labs, and we figured out what would work for them. And I don't want you to do that, because you're going to waste your money, you're going to waste your time. And so demo the software, see what the capabilities are, and ask yourself the question, for my audience, for the people watching my show, what actually matters programming-wise? And then for yourself, what matters? What kind of features do you need? And if you're not familiar with some of these terms I've thrown around, like cloning and whatnot, I've got a playlist on professional lighting console. You can check that out here. But what features do I need? How many lights am I looking to control? Etc., etc., etc. Think about all that stuff. And as you go and you watch my videos over the next couple months about each type of console, and or all at once if you're watching this playlist later, think about these kind of higher level concepts of, okay, how much complexity do I want? Maybe it makes more sense for me to go with something that's a lower complexity because the learning curve is really short and because I can get going and get rolling really fast. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe, and if you're brand new to lighting, of course, check out my free guide to begin with lighting over at learnstagelighting.com. I'll see you guys in our next video. Thanks.